Welcome to the Friday. Finally, spring is here, unless you're elsewhere. And maybe if you're in Colorado, spring is not there yet. I don't know. Eileen will tell us. But here, spring is in full bloom. In fact, it almost feels like close to summer now, which is nice. But we are chasing snow, so kids and I will be away from you guys, not next weekend, but the weekend after. So April, what is it, 17th? Is that right? Something like that. I will be on vacation. Hopefully we'll have somebody good for you to cover that Friday. Okay, you know the drill. You have questions, put them in the chat. There's not a lot of COVID updates today. It feels like politics have overshined any COVID updates in this country, including tariffs and all kinds of financial concerns. But I will tell you that we are seeing a pretty significant pushback on vaccines. I expect that actually CDC is going to come up with some new regs based on the current administration aggressive push to give less vaccinations. So it's yet to be seen how that's going to affect CDC statements. I am not changing my statements. Unless you have a very specific situation, I don't recommend COVID boosters more than once a year. Somebody asked me recently to provide evidence for harm. I'm not going to do that. I am not going to help you guys to do the research on finding specific articles on harm or stuff like this. Mostly because the problem with looking into vaccine research, it's very convoluted. And a lot of this is so highly technical. If I'm trying to explain certain things, I don't even understand them. So what I'm gonna do is, the way I'm basing my statement is, and those of you who are interested, I'm gonna give you the link to my old video on YouTube, and that is all I'm gonna do. Part of it is because I don't have a capacity to analyze this literature that's coming up. So if you're interested, take a look. There's a 25-minute video from 2 years ago that basically says why, in quite clear, like in very clear terms, why I don't recommend frequent vaccinations, because in reality, if you're trying to avoid getting any COVID, you would have to get vaccinated every 12 weeks. And everybody's in clear, and nobody should be thinking that way, because the vaccine for prevention of COVID or any COVID infection works only for a few weeks. But it works quite well and for prolonged periods of time for overall protection against severe illness. And this is what we've been seeing. In the past 12 months, I haven't had a single patient needing to go to the hospital, even when symptoms were sort of mild to moderate to severe at home, mostly because, again, we already have a decent enough immunity. And the frequency of boosting that immunity is up for debates. I don't believe in twice a year. I just knowing, and my main reasoning is very simple. It has nothing to do with vaccine. The memory for most vaccines do last a long time. There is no other vaccine, if you look around, that is administered more than once a year, simply because it's unnecessary. It's also not practically possible if something mutates so rapidly. It's not practically possible to chase updated vaccines that frequent. So, for example, there has been no new vaccine since last fall. So you're going to get exactly the same vaccine you got last fall. So if you're trying to say, okay, I would like to get a new vaccine to protect against new variants, there's no such thing. So that's why I'm saying my recommendation is stick with the once a year. They're going to probably do what they do for flu, and they will provide it accordingly. So, Rona, it's wrong. The vaccine causes shoulder pain when it's given wrong. There's about 20% of vaccines have been administered incorrectly. There's some data on this. That I may review on my YouTube, because I have seen this question come up a lot. So if person develops shoulder bursitis, which is post-vaccination side effects, it's because it's administered wrong. It should not be administered very deep, and it should not be administered in the areas that is high risk to hitting a nerve. That's what's been happening. There's been a lot of vaccines administered too close to the nerve that's running in that area, and that's causing it sometimes even almost permanent damage. So absolutely not. So, okay, so the first question, thank you very much. That's already covered on my YouTube channel. This is very old data. If you guys think that the data on using vaccine prevention for dementia is new, they're not. So let me give you the video for that, because I reviewed all of the vaccinations that are potentially helpful for prevention of dementia. So let me just put that in. Again, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. My kids finally forced me to open a TikTok channel. So I have been dreading this day where I will say yes to this. Idea is to just do short videos, TikTok and also the Instagram. Actually, the videos are already on Facebook and Instagram, but this is just more specific for. All right, where is this? Okay, I'm looking in the wrong place. But it's a great question. So I think what I was mentioning is this basically new study showing strong protective effect of antivirals in vaccines, particularly regardless shingles, from getting dementia. So frequent viral infections that are dormant in our system, so herpes and shingles basically, associated with high risk of dementia. So that's been known. Where is the video? I'll find it. I'll just need a second. If I don't find it now, I'll find it a little bit later. Okay, so other questions? Yes, going short is much more difficult, correct. I have some thoughts on how I'm going to do this, but yeah, wish me luck. Actually, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll figure it out. I figured out how to do the YouTube, so I'm hopeful. So where is that article? I mean, where's that video on the? Oh, there we go. Can viruses trigger Alzheimer's disease, and what can we do about it? This is 1 year ago. And there is the link. But this is from a very comprehensive review that I assessed, and I found it to be significant enough to do a video on that. Good topic. Okay, so what I have for today, I have two topics. So I think we talked a little bit about new guidelines for low back pain, but I want to just reiterate, and finally that the video is up. I'm going to give you a link. Even if I talked about this last Friday, I just want to repeat this mostly because it's very, very important. So it's a European guidelines that basically says there are no procedures for chronic pain that do anything, and they should be basically not used anymore whatsoever. That includes all the spine injections, it includes all the microcurrent, it includes all of the ultrasound procedures for back pain, all of this stuff. So basically, European Union saying there's no evidence that they do anything, and hence they should be used only in cases of research protocols and not for general public, no matter what the types of chronic or acute pain you're having, literally. So take a look. The video is quite detailed. It's not very long, it's 10 minutes, but it reviews the study as well as in description of the video, I put a lot of recommendations of what can you do even now that you shouldn't be getting a shot, like a steroid injection or lidocaine injection in your back. Okay, so that's topic number one. Topic number two is very acute, very important, and that is this whole horrendous situation with microplastics accumulating in brain, kidneys, and liver. Now, that seems to be a critical issue. No one fully understands why we're seeing 3 to 4-fold increase in less than 10 years. That's basically the crux of the study. Crux of the study is saying for sure microplastics in the brain causes Alzheimer's disease. It's one of the causes. For sure, it's probably, well, not for sure, but it's probably contributing to kidney and liver disease, but it's not clear what contribution is that. The largest increase in accumulation has been occurring actually in the kidneys and liver, not in the brain, but it's also significant in the brain. And the whole article is about the brain because they're linking it to dementia. They're basically saying patients who have dementia had a much, much higher prevalence of microplastics in the brain. There was a very large ratio, like 4 or 5-fold. I don't exactly remember, but I put the list, that the third link, that's the link to the 8-minute video on YouTube discussing this in much more specific. So what can we do about this? I mean, obviously that's what we're all thinking, right? Well, so First of all, it's an exposure. You should be asking very critical question. Well, we haven't seen threefold increase in the plastic exposure in the last, say, 10 years. So why is this happening? In fact, we actually have seen somewhat more awareness of plastic risks and maybe even decrease in some situations plastic. So there's no good answer. This article is a purely based on bench research. So they're just analyzing tissue, but they're not even trying to speculate what may be happening here. But I will. So my speculation goes like this. There's a multiple reasons. So reason number one, I think as we get bombarded with ever increasing amount of toxins, we're simply failing to detoxify them more and more. So percent of people who are poor detoxifier and end up with the ever escalating level of the toxins is going up. Simply that. So it's because it's not necessarily more plastic, it's just more of everything. And there's only one detoxification system, and it's not failing, it's just not able to do its job because there's just too much burden of exposure. So that's reason number one. Reason number two potentially has to do with how the industry is changing the types of plastics we get shoved with. So let me see the show of hands. Who likes to drink a lot of tea? Just put your digital hand somewhere, or just real hands. I mean, I only see few of you, but I mean, I see a lot of hands come up. Now let's try this. Who of you drink the teas out of the bags versus like sipping? Okay, so a lot of people. Now, do you know what bags are you using? Feel free to unmute yourself if you have to. Like, do you know if your bag is plastic or paper? All right, a lot of puzzled faces I see. Okay, that's good. That's exactly what I was hoping to get. Well, actually, I would hope that we wouldn't have to talk about it, but we have to. So you have to be very clear and never, ever, ever buy plastic tea bags. So there are two largest exposures for microplastic that's been recently documented of being often not thought through. Plastic tea bags and a chewing gum. Those are the two largest. So no chewing gum. Nobody should be chewing any gum. There turns out to be horrendous plastic exposure out of chewing gum and also plastic tea bags. Now, the plastic tea bags considered often to be the fancy ones. You go to this expensive restaurants and they'll give you this organic tea bags that look like a triangular. Those are all plastic. So never have them, period. This is one of the largest exposures because you're sticking that plastic in a super hot water. So absolutely no to that. Make sure all your tea bags are paper, or better yet, don't use the tea bags. Just buy the loose tea leaves and put them in a stainless steel, like a tea sipping thing. Whether it's a spoon-like, or I have a little special container that just sits on the side of the cup, and then you pour the hot water on top over that. It's like a more of a traditional way of doing it. More of an Asian way. In Asia, I saw a lot of this glass bottles that have this area where you put the loose tea leaves and then you put hot water and just walk around with this all day long, sipping a little bit. Yeah, so if you know that your tea bags are using natural fiber, but again, I would be even careful with that. I would double check what they mean by natural fiber, because they're often would say natural fiber, but natural fiber doesn't necessarily mean it's plastic free. So just typically you want to use the safest way is just the paper bags. They're what they look like. There have also been a new generation of this quote unquote paper bags. I actually worry that they have some plastic, so I'm sticking with the old ones. So that's two big ways. Obviously, of course, you want to always keep all of your cooking ware that is getting heated not to be plastic. So anything going into microwave should never have plastic, in my opinion, of any kind. You should only microwave glass, nothing else, under any circumstance. It doesn't matter that it's BPA free. This has nothing to do with that. Phil, I see the hand.
Thanks. So what I try to do is tear the tea bag, pour the tea into the cup, and then I've got tea without the tea bag.
Yeah, that's great. That's fine. I mean, if you don't mind having loose teeth sticking to your teeth,
Yeah, that's all right.
yeah, a lot of people mind that. And yeah, that's sometimes I do that too. I mean, I like to use those sippy cups, like the stainless steel. Or, I mean, people have different. I actually feel also weird, like if I try to minimize use of paper bags. I mean, only or tea bags only when I'm traveling. Because when you're at home, it's actually also a lot cheaper. And usually the quality of the loose leaves is way better anyway. So not always, but most of it. All right. So the other big time exposures to plastics are probably simply related to those covering. So remember, this is not doesn't have to be any fancy plastic. Polyethylene, which is that transparent bags that we use to cover the food with, that's also plastic. So especially that, like when you heat that in a microwave, you're gonna release for sure. And in a best case scenario, I would just say just use glass only. If your lid is plastic, but it doesn't cover the food, I'd probably say, okay, keep that, but still don't heat with that. When you stick that in a microwave, take the lid off. Microwave it without the lid. If you're microwaving, that is. We can also have a whole conversation about EMF, but I wasn't planning on doing that today. And I don't necessarily have a very, very strong opinion. I believe strongly that there is a sensitivity to EMF, but I don't see it as big of an issue as some people are. So, okay. And now what can we do? So let's say some amount of plastic exposure is inevitable. Let's say that basically paper is saying most people have a higher level now than 10 years ago. What does that mean? And what should we be doing about it in addition to minimizing as much as possible the exposure? Well, what we should be doing is we should always be fine-tuning and optimizing our detoxification system. So we've talked about this repetitively, but I will probably talk many, many more time about this. I'm not afraid, or I'm actually very comfortable and think it's important to keep repeating certain things over and over because that's how we learn better. So remember, the detox consists of multiple phases. There's a phase where you have to take the toxin, make it soluble inside the tissue, and prepare it for a binding. So attaching to something. So that's a phase one. The phases are loose. They don't really have an actual clinical significance from perspective of like, okay, we treat it this way. No, just you don't need to think about this. It just helps to conceptualize this better. So you have this first phase where you're liquefying or making it soluble. The second phase, you have to take the toxin that is soluble now and attach it to something to prepare for excretion. Okay, that could be glutathione, there could be some sulfur molecules, there's lots of different molecules, like N-acetylcysteine. So that's for second step. The third step is an actual transit time. So you're gonna pass the toxin through some kind of tissue. It could be blood to the urine, blood to the liver, through the liver out into the gut for excretion that way. Or of course, there also, here's a test. We need to think about this one since I'm in a student teaching mode today. I was giving a class yesterday, so I tend to ruffle things. So I like ruffling things. So let's ruffle something. Let's ruffle my book. I mean, if you get the second one, you can give it as a gift to someone. So we're gonna ruffle my cannabis book. So people who are gonna get most points gonna get the book. The person's gonna get. So the question number one per point: what is the largest human detox organ? Anybody? Whoever gets it right first gets the point. You can put it in the chat. You can unmute. Okay, all right. Stella gets the point right there. So it's a skin. It's the largest organ by a volume. And guess what? It's also the one of the least utilized ones. I mean, we talk about drinking more water. We talk about getting bowels regularly, etc. But we're not really talking about using skin as detox organ on a regular basis. So of course, the best way to do this is to sweat and to be able to sweat profusely and comfortably. So if you are struggling with not sweating a lot, I mean, that may be something you should look into it because sweating is such a good way of detoxifying. Optimize it, learn to adapt to a higher temperature and sweat. Yes, it's a little bit of an adaptation. Yes, it's not always may feel comfortable, but not everything in life that's good is comfortable, right? So there's certain things we have to do to ourselves. It's not necessarily 100% comfortable. But, if you get in the habit of sweating, you're actually going to like it. In my opinion, the difference between infrared sauna, let's say, and a regular sauna is pretty small to argue over. You should just do something. Maybe infrared sauna is somewhat better. So Al, there are a lot of spas that would offer a pretty low cost infrared sauna membership. So some of them would offer it per hour, like you basically buy a package of 10 for like maybe $50 a piece for an hour, something like that. Some of them would just include them in a spa membership, so you could look around. If you guys already belong to a particular gym and you have a dry sauna there, I don't see any reason not to use it, unless you feel kind of, I don't know, I mean, maybe you're uncomfortable going in there if there's other people, but frankly, I think that's one place where exposure to infections is going to be quite unlikely, especially if it's a regular dry sauna and it's pretty hot. Not much is going to survive at that temperature, unless, I guess, somebody's sitting right next to you, popping right into your face. Well, in that case, probably should just leave. But I don't think that that's commonly going to happen. People who go to gym are probably somewhat healthy, right? They're not going to be acutely sick for you to worry about that. But you can also wear shoes. So if you're some kind of a rubber, something on your legs, so if you don't be afraid of picking up fungal infections from the floor, that's just the standard precautions. I'm not too worried about those things, and I think dry sauna in a regular gym would be just fine. Again, my opinion. The main difference is when you're doing the dry versus infrared is the timing. In a dry, you're going to have to do several rounds of a short exposure because you're not going to be able to sit there for very long. In infrared, people can sit for a pretty long time. Like I can sit in my infrared for a full hour, but if I go to Y, where we have a gym here in Silver Spring area, I'd have to go in for about maybe 7-8 minutes top, maybe 10, up to 10, and then do a couple of rounds, maybe 2 or 3. So I'm a huge fan of sweating for detox because Stella's right answer, which is the skin is the largest detox organ, and hence you can get a very large efficiency out of it. So that's why. Okay, so question number 2. In the context of optimizing general detoxification, what can you do with the food? And I'm looking at one most important answer. You can do 25 or maybe 105 things with your food, but there's one absolutely critical point about the food we eat that is so essential, that is really important for the gut in terms of detox. So what would that be? That's a point.
Get organic food.
All right. Okay, we're gonna have to give this one to you. That's not what I was thinking about, but that's actually so important that I probably should have said 2 things. Okay, no, not bitters. Bitters would be important to some people. Absolutely not wash and sanitize. Remember, we are not talking about, I'm talking about the body's capacity. So I'm talking about the things that you would need to do. Obviously, you would want to not put toxins in the system, but I'm specifically thinking about aspects of our detoxification as it relates to the food, and that's why we need that particular. Okay, chew well. I'm very tempted to give Randy a point for this because that's also one of those things that's really, really important. Kind of similar to what Phil's put in there, or what Phil said about the organic versus inorganic. So no, low heat cooking. Interesting. No, because you're actually not getting rid of most of the toxins by heating them. You do get rid of some, but it's not important. Okay, intermittent fasting is not actually the top. It's a little simpler than that. Okay, let me give a hint. It's a particular group of foods or particular type of ingredient in the food or a nutrient that I'm looking to be answered. No. not fermented food. Fermented foods are important for general health, for maintaining a microbiome. They're not the number one in detox. Polyphenols are critically important, but not for detox. Okay, so sulforaphane is a partially correct answer, but remember, I said the most important one, and I'm looking for a large groups of foods. And I'm happy you're struggling. And it needs to be a simple answer. Those of you who put greens and cruciferous, partially correct. But I'm looking for a simpler answer, you guys. Broccoli is correct. You need a general term here. No, veggies, okay, well, veggies is too general. Specifically, I'm not looking for a type of a food. I'm looking at, like, you know how we talk about micronutrients, macronutrients, those kind of things. One word. I can't believe it. You guys, come on. You know the answer. You're just not really thinking what I'm thinking. Okay, well, so what is so prevalent in all these leafy green vegetables, in broccoli and cruciferous? What is one thing that is so common in there? It's not the only place. There's lots of other places we get that from. Doesn't have to be vegetables, by the way. Other places, things give us, no, not mitochondria are on function. Chlorophyll, okay, chlorophyll has an importance, of course, but chlorophyll is a micropresent, and it's actually not all that, I mean, it's really good for detox, but it's not the most important. Plants, it comes from plants, sure. It's usually not coming. Okay, so water is good answer. The water is give you a point, Rick, for sure. And the simple reason is I consider water not food, but it's actually wrong, right? The water is food. So yeah, so in that sense, the water would actually be even more important than what I'm thinking.
Is it chlorophyll?
No. Chlorophyll is good. And chlorophyll is a good detox molecule, but it's not, it's a lot simpler than that. Okay, last hint. It has something to do with the way our digestion works, or how we optimize our digestive tract so that it moves right. Oh, come on, I can't give more than that.
Fiber?
Fiber, finally, thank you. Fiber. Fiber is critical for detox. By the way, exercise is critical for detox, but it's not food. But that would have been a point if I would have asked that question. But of course it's fiber. You have to keep your bowels very regular. The constipation is one of the worst things for the detox system. If you're constipated, you're not detoxing well, period. Why? Not everything comes out through the kidneys. Not everything comes out through the skin. A lot of things come from the gut. So once or twice a day, minimum, bowels are critical for that. So if you feel like you're slowing down, if you feel like there may be a toxicity, one of the most important things you should be doing right immediately is to optimize your fiber intake and make the bowels go. Now, maybe you're taking tons of fiber and it's, you passed that. So maybe you need to take magnesium citrate or something else to help the bowels to be more regular. But of course, the fiber is always the first. Fiber is really important, not just for the detox, but for so many other things. It's really, really good for our microbiome, etc. I think I'm going to stop here, right, Janet? Because we're at about 2:30, so that Eileen has full half an hour. I can't believe it took forever to get fiber, but we need to decide who gets the book. So what do you guys think? So Phil definitely has a point. Who else has a point? I think Stella has a point.
Stella had two.
All right, so Stella is the winner today. Phil with 1 point is a close contender. The points are transferring for next time. Phil, you're ahead of everybody.
All right.
All right, Stella, send me your address so I can send you the book. Eileen, thanks so much for being here. It's always such a pleasure to have you. My third or fourth mom from Colorado, so we really welcome you today, and we'd love to learn from your wisdom and your teachings that span now, what, 50 years, 45 years, something like that.
55 of pediatrics, 55 of meditating. I don't know. It's a lot.
Something like that.
It's a long time.
A long time.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. I'm glad to be back. And as we mentioned earlier, even though it is spring and it's been warm and lovely the last few days, today we had a little snow, not much, it's melted, but it's just crazy. Anyway, when I thought about what I'd like to do today, I asked myself what's important to me. And what I came up with was a meditation to act on what's important. So I thought that's what we'll do. This will help us to sort of focus in on how do you figure out what's important to you at any one time. It's a mindfulness kind of practice. And if we have time at the, I don't know if I'll be having any time at the end, but if there is, I have a lovely short light practice that we could do. So anyway, let's get started here. We're most energized when we find purpose and meaning in what we're doing. And in contrast, we feel depleted if we don't take time to do things that are important to us. But you don't always know how to get in touch with that part of yourself that knows what's most important for you and that has the wisdom and the courage to actually take some good action. So how do we consciously connect with what matters most to us? There are four, you could call them four domains of energy: physical, emotional, mental, and intentional. And there are meditations for every one. This particular one that we're going to do is an intentional energy meditation. All of the energy in all of these places is all interconnected. And so if you are out of balance in one area, you sort of feel it in all of the areas. So some of you may be familiar with Rumi's poem, which it's called The Great Wagon, that has the phrases in it: out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field, I'll meet you there. So today's meditation is all about this field, finding that place, that spacious place within you, non-judging awareness, where for a few minutes we can let go of any ideas of I should and I must, and this is right and this is wrong, and just allow ourselves to be connected in silence with the deepest, truest parts of who we are. We are really awareness, and the content of the awareness is what is your consciousness. Okay, so the first thing is get into a comfortable position, and I recommend sitting. I don't know if any of you are sitting on a cushion. That's okay if you are, but if you're sitting in a chair, put your feet flat on the floor with your back straight, and rest your arms on either your lap or the arms of a chair or a piece of furniture that's nearby, but some kind of comfortable place. Don't clasp your hands. They should be separate. So get comfy. And whenever you're ready, close your eyes. Now, if that's not comfortable for you, it's okay for you to just lower your vision and soften your gaze. That is, keep your eyes half closed, looking down at something, let's say 3 or 4 feet in front of you, and not focusing on it. But if you can close your eyes, that's better. So think of this as a moment to return yourself to your breath. No agendas, nothing to fix, just a time to meet yourself just the way you are. Now, if you find that your mind is really busy today, that it's racing, or if you find this practice boring or awkward, that's really okay. Meditation, by the way, is boring because you're trying to turn out all of the input that's your thoughts are constantly coming in. It's natural to find some difficulty in sitting in silence. So note those thoughts and feelings with kindness, and then place your hands in the region of your heart, feeling the warmth of your hand and connection with your body. Notice your breath moving naturally in and out. And for these cycles of your breathing, give your full care and attention to the natural rhythm of your breath rising and falling in your body. Don't try to change your breath, just watch it. Now, with each inhale, envision creating a little more space in your mind and your whole body. A little more space. And with each exhale, imagine letting go of what you don't need to hold on to. Letting go of what's not helpful and what's not serving you. And in this way, we're also creating more space for what we want to invite into this space. So breathe a little bit now. Let go of what you don't need to hold on to, what's not helpful as you breathe out. And as you breathe in, envision creating a little more space in your mind and body, almost a little more emptiness. When you find that your mind and your body are present, relaxed, and alert, silently ask yourself this question. What is most important to me in my life now? What is most important to me in my life now? Remember, you don't need to go out searching for answers or looking for something special. Instead, let go of the striving and just return back to the field. Allow yourself to be right where you are, open, spacious, curious, and stay with the question, what is most important to me? And allow your thoughts to naturally surface. Pay attention to the thoughts that bubble up. What do you notice? It might be about relationships or work or self-care or being in nature or creativity. It might be a longing that you're familiar with that's most important, or it might surprise you. Actually, sometimes people find more than one thing that's more important to them, but usually if it is more than one, they're linked. When you have a sense of the answers to the question, what's most important to me now? Ask yourself how you can make time today to engage in an activity, even if it's only for a few minutes, an activity that will bring you joy and make you feel alive. So I'm going to give you just a little bit more time to think about the answers to what's most important to me, and then try to figure out what can you do in a practical way today, even if it's just for a few minutes, that will bring you joy and make you feel alive. Okay. Now to go back to the Rumi poem that I alluded to earlier, The Great Wagon. A little further on in the poem, he says, "The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you want. Don't go back to sleep." I'll say that again. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you want. Don't go back to sleep. Too much of the time we are walking around sort of like in the sleep, not really knowing what we want. And when you find out what you want, then you have to actually focus your attention to see what you can do in your life to make that happen. The universe gives you things that you need, but you've got to put in some action of your own and some attention also. So try to return to this field, the field of awareness, where you're not giving yourself shoulds or this is right, this is wrong, just the openness to what is in your environment. Try to return there a couple of minutes every day to reconnect with and to stay awake to what matters most within you. And you'll find that this changes. What's most important to you can change slowly over time, or it can change very rapidly. And I will share something personal with you, which this is one reason why I picked this today. I lost my husband 3 months ago to recurrent cancer. And so we knew that he was going, and he needed to go, unfortunately. But my life changed totally. I met him when I was 20 years old, and we just had our 60th wedding anniversary, 60. So my entire adult life was spent with him. And, it changed very radically and very quickly. And I had to really assess what is most important to me. My life didn't end. And I have wonderful support from family and friends, but everything changed, So that's why I think it's important for you to, pretty much on an everyday basis, to tune in, even if it's just for a couple of minutes, to figure out what it is that's really important for that day. And also to trust that things will unfold the way they're supposed to. Sometimes it's surprising what comes up, and other times you can sort of predict it. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. You have to be open That's what awareness is, being open to and allowing things to unfold in your life. And all you can do is one day at a time. You look at what's there on your plate and you do your very best, whatever it is, whether your life is blissful or tragic or in between. Most of us, it's in between. And just trust that you have the resources within you to find out what's really important that day. And don't be surprised if the next day what you get is different. That we have, that's what life is. It's impermanence. So this is a nice practice. I sent Janet the handout and she will forward it to all of you. She'll email it to you after this. So you'll be able to refer to this practice if you like it, to refer to it again. And don't be surprised at what comes up, because you never know. You never know. It's good to be optimistic, but sometimes that's not what is important to you. For example, when you have a grief issue, you have to do the grieving part too. And so it's a mixture, like right now I'm in a very good place actually, but closer to the time, Joel died the day after the winter solstice. And so it's been just one full season. And, during the holiday season, all of us would just, we'd cry every day and we would talk about him and whatever. And that's still there, but it's much less. You realize that people move on. We move on here on Earth, and the person who's passed has a different situation also. They're not in their body anymore, but they still go on. And it's okay to connect with somebody who's gone. And it's okay to think about your daily life and not think about the person who's passed, so that you're actually spending your full attention on what you're still doing now. The fact that you're still here on Earth means you still have work to do. So you just do your best. That's all you can do. Do your best. And enjoy this practice. Okay. Let's just sit for a moment. We do have 10 minutes. I'm going to do, after we sit for a couple of minutes, I'm going to do a short version of this light practice, which is one of my absolute favorites for years. So let's just sit for a minute. Okay. So sit up straight, close your eyes if you can. And let me tell you what we'll do first, and then we'll do it. Some of you may be familiar with this. When you inhale, you're going to imagine white light coming down from above your head, coming through down your spine to the heart level. And then when you exhale, and this is done at your own rate, when you exhale, you're exhaling golden light through your heart in a 360-degree globe, so that you end up sitting in a globe of golden light. It's a really, really beautiful practice. Okay. So you inhale, white light coming down, and exhale, golden light in a globe. The globe has to be big enough to include all of you, but it doesn't have to extend further out. Okay. Let's just do it. I used to do this in my classes, I would do it for up to 15 minutes. And everybody said, do we have to come back? Do we have to come back? It's a wonderfully relaxing practice. So we have about 5 minutes. Go ahead. White light down, golden light in globe. Do 4 more breaths. Okay. Now become aware of yourself sitting in the chair. Feel the furniture against your body and feel your feet. If you like, you can wiggle your fingers and toes or stretch. Now take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, open your eyes fully, come back here, and just sit quietly, letting your body absorb the energy that you just put into it. We'll sit for about 30 seconds. Okay. So I'm going to turn it back to Misha. I guess you have like a final, like a little goodbye ending.
Yeah.
So, hope you enjoy this. By the way, the second practice is not in the handout because I didn't know in advance that I was going to do it. So if you want it, let somebody know, let Janet know, and I can send you a copy of it. Okay.
Thank you, Eileen. Thank you for this delight. Thank you everybody for coming. If you're staying to talk to me, stay. Otherwise, we'll see you all next week. Janet's still here. Janet, who do we have next week?
Let me quick go and look.
I'll be still here next week. I'm skipping the following Friday,
Okay.
17th.
So next week we have Misha and Catherine Miller.
Wonderful. We'll see you all at that point. Have a wonderful weekend. Hope you get to spend time outdoors. No matter
Hey,
what you
Misha,
are.
is something going on this weekend for you?
Yes, spring cleaning at the cabin. Lots of
Anything else?
manual work. Anything else? It's Ashley's birthday on Sunday.
Okay, when is your birthday?
Well, that was last Friday.
Okay. Do we feel
Oh,
like singing happy birthday to Misha?
yes.
Okay. Let me put my headset back on.
I didn't want to tell everybody, but that's good. That's fine.
That's what I.
Was this an important big birthday or just a routine?
No, well, it was big party on Saturday because we didn't celebrate last year because my idea was to do the race. So we didn't do the big 50-0 parties. We did.
But you turned 50 this year, yes, Misha?
Oh, I turned 51 already.
Oh, 51. Okay.
It's a
All right, everybody.
50
Let's
last year.
prime number. Yeah.
let's try and sing. Unmute yourself and let's try and sing happy birthday to
Oh, that's
Misha.
gonna be a hoot. Wait, when I do that.
Happy
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday
to
to
you. Cha cha cha.
Happy
Happy birthday,
dear Misha. Happy birthday to you.
Cha cha.
Many more.
And many, many more.
Many more.
Actually worked great.
Yeah.
All right, Misha, let me quickly make you the
And let's stop recording.
host and we'll stop recording.
Oh.